Okay, welcome everybody. I'm so glad you're here today. My name is Saskia Esslinger, and I am in Homer, Alaska, and that is about 4.5 hours south of Anchorage. Driving. We have to drive through a pass. So Anchorage is the main town in Alaska. Homer's at the end of the road. And the end of the road, it's a very interesting place to be because we're very susceptible to supply chain disruptions. When you, oh yeah, if anybody isn't muted, I can mute you. Yeah, that'd be great. Anyway, the end of the road is it's an interesting place, especially very, very regularly. I'll go to the store and there will be things that I cannot find because they just don't stock it that often. And it makes me so much more aware of the fragility of our system and how dependent we are on the farms elsewhere in California and Mexico, and how and even for our seeds, like the transportation industry is fragile. In Canada, they had those, the truck drivers were staging the protest, and any of those little supply chain disruptions can really affect our food supply and our seed supply. And so kind of learning to become more self-sufficient is a big passion of mine. So the other thing is that I am passionate about gardening. For a living, I teach gardening classes online and in person. And I just feel like it's a really powerful way for us to claim, to do something that's positive in this world, and to take positive action, and also to create our own food security. When you can supply your own food for yourself, then you are really doing something positive. You're taking part in mitigating climate change and all of that. So anyway, so as I mentioned, my name is Saskia Esslinger, for those of you that are just joining, and my business is called Teach Gardening. I've been teaching gardening for about 15 years, mostly in Alaska and then also elsewhere. And I am certified in permaculture and teaching permaculture. So all of my teachings of the garden really are centered around how do we work more with nature in order to provide for our own needs. And that's basically what permaculture is. And so if any of you are not familiar with that, be happy to go into that more. But today we're going to be talking about how to start a seed library. And I started a seed library, I guess it's been about 1.5 years in the process. Last year was the first year that it was open. So I'm in no means an expert, but it's been such a positive experience for me that I really wanted to share it with all of you. Anybody who wants to listen and try this out. In fact, last year, I helped Melina get started up in north of Anchorage in Wasilla and Palmer area. And then this year, there is some people just north of us in Soldotna that started a seed library. I was able to help them get started. And I just got this idea that, wow, what if we could have a seed library in every town? Every little town could have one or more seed libraries. And what difference would that make for the food security in those places? What difference would it make for the network of gardeners and for the people that we're learning how to save seeds? Because learning how to save seeds is a process. I don't know how much of an expert you guys all are in seed saving, but it is not something that you can learn in one season or in a 2-hour workshop. It is a process, and I am definitely still learning, but it's so much easier if you can learn with other people in your area, because it's such an area specific process of saving seeds is. You know, something that is really easy to save in one place might be really difficult in another. For instance, in our area, lettuce is, you know, kind of a self-pollinating crop. It's supposedly easy to save, but getting it to go to seed in our short season is a challenge. So little information like that, I think shared among seed savers is really valuable. And so creating this network of seed savers in your area is really important. Yeah, seed saving in the Arctic is very challenging. So, okay, do have a presentation for you guys today. So I'm gonna go over to that and we can get going on it. If you guys, you can still write in the chat and I will check that occasionally. And also feel free, if you have something to interject, just unmute yourself and butt in there. So we just have 24 people on right now. That's not too many to just jump in. So I am going to share my screen. Okay. I'm going to minimize this. Okay. So starting a seed library. So this is the picture that I put in my advertisement. This is the picture of the seed library that I started. And it all started with somebody saying, hey, there's a librarian down at the library that has an old card catalog, and she thought it would be great to start a seed library. And she asked me if I could do it, but I'm too busy. So could you do it? And I said, yes, I would love to. So the card catalog was gifted from the library, and that was a really great start. You can see that it's kind of the perfect little vehicle to hold all the seeds. So what is a seed library? Maybe some of you, and I get this a lot where people call it a seed bank, but it's not a seed bank in any way. So a seed bank is a vault very deep in the ground that's kept at very cold temperatures, where they store seeds for long periods of time in case of a catastrophe. A seed library is a living collection of seeds. So people borrow the seeds, they grow them out, they save some seeds, and then they return seeds to the library to then be lent out again. And that's why it's called a library. It's kind of like borrowing books from a library, and then you return the books. But the library, you return the same books. With these, you return obviously different seeds because you're growing them out. And that's what creates the living collection. Okay, so for each generation that the seeds grow in your area, they are becoming more acclimated to your specific climate, which is really the beauty of it. Okay. So when you get the recording, you will be able to, this presentation, you will be able to go back and look at these slides when you view the recording. So you can take notes if you want, but you don't have to. Okay. So it's really important that you just understand that you're not holding the seeds for a long period of time. Sometimes you might get a lot of seeds at once, and you will be able to, pass those out over several seasons. For instance, this year I ordered bulk Brussels sprouts seeds, and I could order one packet of Brussels sprout seeds for, $4, or I could order a quarter pound or something like that for $10. And so I went for the larger quantity of seeds, knowing that we wouldn't need to use all of those in one season. Like I couldn't possibly pass out that many Brussels sprout seeds in one season, but that Brussels sprout seeds actually will hold and be viable for about 8 years. So, I mean, even if it takes us 8 years to go through all those Brussels sprout seeds, eventually they'll all get passed out. And Brussels sprout seeds are one of the hardest ones to save. So getting them to flower and go to seed is a little bit more tricky. So I'm anticipating it's going to be a little while before we have our own Brussels sprout seeds to pass out. So step one is kind of finding a location for your seed library and figuring out what it's going to look like. Okay, Taya asked do you have funding for the original? Yeah, I'll get to that. Okay, I'll get to that in a little bit. Okay, so finding a location is like I needed an indoor location for this seed catalog library, and what I did is, because the library offered me the card catalog, I said, oh, and can we have a little space to set up? And it doesn't take much space to set up a seed library. So you can see we have just one table that they provided for us, and they provided the card catalog, and then I put some tablecloths together. It's kind of a clashing menagerie of tablecloths, and I found some friends to donate those shutters that I decorated with, and that bird cage and the fake plants, and there's some real plants on the table too. So it doesn't take up much space, which is really huge, but it's nice to have an indoor space where the seeds can stay dry. And this is, like I said, in the foyer of the library. So right as you come in the front doors, you walk in and there's the seed library. It's very visible. Okay, Felipa wants to know, how did you source info on how long different seed varieties last in years, please? Okay, so they have charts on the internet that will tell you how long different seeds last. And then also in some of the seed saving books, like let's see, Seed to Seed is a really good book that I would recommend, and they have how long each type of seed will last. And I would say those are generally more accurate than the charts that you will find on the internet, because on the internet, what I've realized is that those charts are made by the seed companies. And of course, they want you to kind of throw your seeds away and buy new seeds. So a lot of times they will it's not completely accurate. And it really depends a lot on the conditions that you say that you have the seeds in. So if you have them in cool, dry, consistent conditions, they'll last for much longer than if you have them in variable, warm, cold, wet. They will lose their viability much faster. This library is, Chadia asked, is it always open or is it only available at certain times? So this seed library is available whenever the library is open, which my goal for this library was to find, I wanted it to be as low maintenance for me as possible. I wanted it to be hands off so that I didn't have to, deal or cater to or help each customer of the seed library. I wanted it to be kind of like, okay, make it as easy for me and as easy for the customers as possible. That means that I don't get as much interaction with the members of the seed library though, which is a very interesting byproduct. A lot of times I'm stocking seeds and then I will be able to talk to people, but most of the times I don't see them or meet them or talk to them, which is one, I would say, a downfall in a way. So I wanted to put this example in here. My friend Emily in Anchorage built this seed library in the Airport Heights neighborhood. And it was basically, you know how they have the little libraries for books? Well, they just took one of those and they took all the books out. And for the months of March, April, May, and May, so 3 months, they replaced the books with seeds. And they had some volunteers stock the seed library every couple days. And then after June, they returned it back into a regular book library. And this is a really fun idea. This structure was designed to keep books dry, so the seeds stay dry in there. And they're, again, very accessible to people. This is located in a park that lots of people walk in and every day, so they are able to see it. And then, oh, it looks like inside they have the seeds are in a plastic bag just in case it might get wet in there. And I thought that it was pretty neat that they used recycled paper that they folded into seed packets. And Dev, I know that you've shown how to fold these little cute seed packets before, and I just love them. A little bit more labor intensive, but really fun to do all recycled materials and not have to buy anything. So they, for her project, she sourced seeds from neighbors, and then she also got seed donations for Organic Seed Alliance and the Cooperative Gardens Commission. She said that they did send them some seeds that were not all that useful in Alaska, which is one of the hard things, like sorghum and stuff like that, things that don't grow up here, which is one of the reasons why I like to choose the seeds myself, because then I can choose varieties that are going to grow well up here. I mean, it really helps to have somebody doing the seed library that is very confident in their gardening skills, and you know what grows up here well, and all of that. So I, recommend that if that's not you, that you find somebody that you can work with that is confident in your growing skills. Okay, so here's a picture of what our seed drawers look like. So we used the little manila tabs from the drawers that were originally in the drawers, and I just wrote on them with a Sharpie of what it was, and I just organized everything alphabetically and then put the seed packets behind it. So this is what the seed packets look like. They are coin envelopes number 1. Apparently there's lots of different sizes of coin envelopes. So this is one of the smaller sizes. I have found that I buy these on Amazon, unfortunately, but they are definitely the cheapest price. And it's $19 for a box, or $20 for a box of 500 envelopes, which works out to be about 4 cents an envelope, which is pretty darn good, considering that here, I tell you, I passed out over 3,700 seed packets last year. So for my town, there's about 5,000 people, 5,000 people in Homer proper, and about 10,000 people total in the surrounding area. So 10,000 people, we passed out 3,700 seed packets, which I thought was pretty darn good. So that was why I felt like I couldn't fold all those envelopes myself. I wanted to find a really easy way to just have envelopes available. And I just ordered box after box of those envelopes to make sure that we had enough. So I got a grant to start my seed library. The first one was from the Awesome Foundation, which is apparently it's a nationwide, in the US organization that they have chapters in certain areas. So there is a Homer chapter of the Awesome Foundation. And so I applied to them directly, and they gave me $1,000. I did not have to be a nonprofit. They were like, anybody that has a good idea can apply for these grants. So I recommend that if you can look up and see if you have an Awesome Foundation in your area. There's also lots of other like local funding opportunities, I know, but some of them will require you to be a nonprofit, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then I got a second grant from the Friends of the Homer Public Library. And so I had about $2,000 to work with, and I'm still using that money because it wasn't, I didn't need to use it all the first year, but it was a really great start for being able to order lots and lots of great seeds. So basically what I did was I went to the seed companies that are that I've used in the past that sell seeds that I know will do well up here. The ones that are from more northern areas, like for me, I used Fedco, which is in Northeast. I think it's in Maine. I used Johnny's Seeds, which is also in the Northeast. I used High Mowing, which is in Vermont, and I used Territorial, which is in Oregon. And so those were the main ones that I used. And then also, oh, what's the herb one? I'm forgetting. Strictly Medicinals is the place that I did for herb seeds. And basically I went through their websites, and I had all of the websites opened at once. And I went through and I looked for the best varieties, and I wanted to find open pollinated varieties. So these are seeds that you can save seeds from. If you have hybrid seeds and you save seeds from a hybrid plant, what will happen is it will revert back to one of the parents, because a hybrid is a forced cross, and you won't be able, or you might get unknown progeny from it. So this is one of the most important things about the seed library, is the education of helping people understand what they can save and what they can't save. But offering seeds that are open pollinated means that they can save seeds from those seeds that you're giving out, at least. Okay. So I wanted to look for open pollinated seeds, and then I wanted to look for things that would do well in our area. So there again, knowing what does well in your area is a big help. So there's also a little bit of legal things I learned, that in Alaska, there's a law about seed libraries, and you just have to include this disclaimer on your seed packets: not authorized for commercial use and not classified, graded, or inspected by the state of Alaska. And then you put the name of your seed library and the address of your seed library. And then you're also supposed to register your seed library with the state of Alaska. I have not figured out how to do that yet. Melina and I are working on that. But you might just want to look up and see if there's any laws in your area. I didn't even think that might happen. So that there might be a law in my area. So I just want you to think about that. Okay. So let's see, Summer says the envelopes, yeah, are much more expensive at the store. And then Taya, where did you get the info for the labels? Did you have to write each one yourself? The label information I copied and pasted from the websites, then I edited it down so that it would fit on the label. So let me go back to that slide actually. So on the labels, I put what it is, the variety, and then I put the scientific name, because there are some things that it matters, like for instance, pumpkins and winter squash. It matters if it's a Cucurbita maxima or a Cucurbita, the other ones. I'm blanking on the names right now. So that is really for the seed saving, and knowing that the brassica of the broccoli is exactly the same variety, it's same species as the Brussels sprouts, and those will cross if you're trying to, if you have both of them flowering at the same time, they will cross and you won't get a Brussels sprouts or a broccoli, you'll get something else in between, who knows. So that's why that's important. And then I put, you can't see it because it's folded over, but I put down what is the seed saving level. So for this one, broccoli and Brussels sprouts, it's difficult. On the tomato, it's easy. And then I put the seed source so that people know if it came from a seed company or if it came from somebody in particular. I'll put their name down. And that way, like if none of the seeds grow or if they're getting really weird stuff from them, then we know, oh, those seeds weren't saved properly, and we can pull those out of the seed library or talk to that person and be like, oh, what did you do wrong here? Let's help you. So that's just a kind of a tracing thing. And then I wrote down, this is a picture from last year. And last year I just wrote down basically information about the variety, but then I got feedback from a lot of people that were saying that they didn't know when or how to plant them. And so I just because I'm been gardening for so long, I just assume that people know this stuff. So I edited all of the tags to give basic planting instructions. So for broccoli, I put down, start, because we have a last average frost date of mid-May. I said, start in mid-March, and then transplant out in the beginning of May, and 15 inches apart. So very, very basic planting instructions, because I wanted it to fit on these tags. And what I realized is that I went through quite a lot of paper printing out these tags. So I wanted to make them as efficient as possible. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going back to the chat here. Have you come across any patent laws with exchanging seeds? Someone brought this up, that it might be an issue. Yeah, so the patent is you are not allowed to save patented seeds. And it usually says in the seed catalog if something is patented. It's becoming more and more common, actually, that seeds are patented. And let's see, can open pollinated? Yes, open pollinated seeds can be patented. I know it's really scary that they can do that. So that is one of the laws in the United States that is so backwards, that we should try to work on changing, is that people can have an intellectual patent on something that's natural. Okay, and Danielle asks, do you allow curcubit seeds? In the UK, there's an issue of nasty poisoning when they've crossed. Yeah, we do. I know that I've talked about this extensively with Dev, and there is a possibility that you can have poisonings, and I do talk about this in my classes. We just try to make sure that people are aware of the issue and try to not cross their cucumbers. So yeah, but that would be up to you, of how to, you can make whatever rules that you have, and you could say just no cucumber seeds. That would be fine. Okay. So we do, for my seed library, I ask people to sign up and become members of the seed library. And basically what that means is they fill out a membership form so that I can collect information on them, on who I'm serving. Are these new or experienced gardeners? What kinds of workshops are they interested in? Would they be interested in volunteering? What seeds are they taking? And then it also helps to get the numbers of how many people are participating in the seed library for grants. And your membership can be free or it could be paid. You could decide that you want each member to contribute a small amount, and then that would go towards buying seeds. My membership is totally free because I wanted it to be a free service for everybody. So here's an example of my membership form. So this is a front and back form, and people just fill out very basic information. And then I keep these membership forms just in a binder at the seed library, so that when they borrow seed, they can write down what they're checking out. And that way they can go back to it later. Like, say they checked out some carrot seeds and then they forgot what kind of variety they were, they could go back and look at this. Okay, yes, Daniel, you had something to say? You can unmute yourself. No? Okay. Dev said you could also label cucurbits with warning for possible toxic squash syndrome, and not to eat if the taste is off or bitter, or it looks untrue to what is expected. Yeah, that's a good thing too. And I do, if I'm not sure about if something has been saved properly, I will put on there crossed with a question mark, so that people know that it could possibly be crossed. So to kind of help with that, I have a form that people fill out. So this is a seed donation basket. And then in that manila folder are forms for people to fill out with each seed that they are returning. And I want them to write down kind of, hey, did you use any pollination or, isolation techniques to keep the seed pure? Or how did you make sure that these seeds are going to grow true to form? And then it also gives me information about them, so that I can contact them if I need more information, or if I need to go back to them because it was crossed. It said it would be great to include a photo of the expected plant on the dividers in the seed drawer. Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be really pretty. Unfortunately, I have like, I don't know, 80 varieties of things. And so that would be a lot of work, but that would be a great something for a volunteer to do, possibly. So I also have a little sign up that says how this works for people that are just coming up to the seed library. What is it? How does it work? And how do we do this, so that people that are just walking by can see it? So here's the seed donation form. So I ask them, what measures did you take to ensure that the seed is pure? And then any notes or a story about the seeds. I've got some really lovely stories. One woman passed on some nasturtium seeds that her mom had been saving for 40 years. And she grew them every year on her front porch. And then this past year she got sick. And so this woman was down taking care of her mom, and she saved some of the nasturtium seeds and passed them on to the seed library. So stories like that is just really precious, that these seeds will go on living in our community, and that people will grow them out and bring seeds back. It's definitely honoring the memory of this mom, and keeping it alive, keeping her story alive. Melina says, I have a binder with photos and longer descriptions of each seed offered, so people can look at that. Oh, that's a great idea too. So if people need more information about the seeds, it sounds like a great idea. Danielle says, I'm meticulous. I am not meticulous, but it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. So it's been wonderful work, but it has been quite a bit of work. So here's some examples of the seeds that people donated. Oh, here's the story about the nasturtiums. And then we have dill and winter squash and onions that people, some bunching onions. And then here's me and my son collecting seeds in our garden. These are kale seeds. And one of the reasons why I love this project is because all ages can do it. It is accessible from the youngest toddlers to the most elderly people, to be able to get out there, collect seeds, plant things, and grow. It can connect everybody in the community together. I love, love, love that it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. It doesn't matter who you voted for. It doesn't matter what religion you are. Anybody can grow food. And I feel like we all need to eat food, and we all can grow food somewhere in our community, even if it's in an alleyway. And we can bring everybody together through food. So here's some parsnip seeds that I harvested this year in a big laundry basket. I brought out my laundry basket to get them all. And this is one of the cool things about a seed library, is that there's no way that I could use all of these parsnip seeds, right? And you need to grow this many parsnips in order to get viable seeds. But what you get out of it, I couldn't possibly use them all. And so it makes sense to share them with other people. And I don't have space in my garden to grow out all of the seeds that I need. So a seed library just makes sense in so many ways. And that's just one of the reasons why I love it. So I have a little homeschool group, and I had the kids cleaning seeds for me, helping break open pods. And like I said, it's such a great project that everybody can participate in. And here's cleaning those parsnip seeds, sifting. I bought a seed sieve for the seed library that people can borrow and use to clean their seeds with, so that I get clean seeds. Okay, Daniel has a message. You would love it if I could talk about orthodox and recalcitrant seeds in the context of seed storage for the seed library. I am not familiar with those. Daniel, do you want to share with us about those? What are orthodox and recalcitrant seeds? Yeah, Daniel, you'll have to unmute yourself. Let's see, Daniel. See if I can find you. Can you find the mute button? Ask to unmute.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Okay, fine. My name is Daniel Kabitaba. I'm calling from Malawi.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, so there are a few things that I'd like to share to the audience that we have now. I'm a seed scientist, by the way. So I think I may have a few ideas that I might try to share to people that my system when they are set up of seed library. Yeah, so I talked about the custom seeds and orthodox seeds. The way you store these seeds is quite different with the other seeds that normally have around. For example, saying that if you have a seed that is recalcitrant, these are seeds that they are intolerant to desiccation. Let's say, for example, if you have maize seeds or bean seeds, these seeds, you can't store them when the moisture is beyond 5%. That is below 5%, the seeds, those seeds, they lose their ability to be viable. So those their viability issues. So my point is, whenever we're trying to set up a library for seeds, we should consider whether seeds they are recalcitrant or they are orthodox. Oh, yeah, so for orthodox seeds, you can store the seeds up to below 5%. In fact, when you store the seeds, as much as though the percentage of the moisture is concerned, you give yourself the leverage that the seeds can be stored for a very long time. While for recalcitrant seeds, let's say, for example, you consider much on the seeds that are from the first three species, let's say mango seeds,
Mhm.
guava seeds, those seeds, you can't store them when the moisture content is below, let's say 15%. At that point, those their viability. That means you can't store those seeds at a very low content percentage of moisture.
Mhm.
So my point is, whenever storing seeds in your seed library, consider 2 points. The seeds can be either orthodox or recalcitrants. If they're orthodox, that is maize, let's say bean, soya beans, and all those kind of seeds. You can store them in as far as you want in terms of moisture content. Those
Yeah.
seeds, they should be viable.
Yeah.
But if you go to free species seeds, the moisture content, if it goes beyond, let's say 10%, 50%, it may become detrimental to the survival or viability of the seeds. That'd be a problem with the seed that we may share to the community.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
these 2 points are very important.
Thanks, Daniel. Okay, thanks. Yeah. So I get what you're saying. And so it's going to really depend on your local climate and where you have to store the seeds. So for instance, in our climate, we're not growing any seeds that are recalcitrant because everything freezes up here. But in your climate, yeah, things, you'll have to find the correct storage for your area. But remember that in a seed library, we're not necessarily trying to store things for a long time. We're trying to get it out to the people. And so people ask me, yeah, that, that seed library doesn't look like a great place to store seeds. It's not a storage, it's a distribution point. So I have extra seeds in backup back at my house that are stored in a cool, dry spot. But the seeds of the seed library are not. They are meant for distribution, and they are going out and they're going to be planted this year. And this brings up a great point. What kind of seeds are you going to have in your seed library? Because, Daniel's talking about perennial seeds, mangoes, and things like that are fantastic. And mostly I have handed out vegetable seeds. So these are, what we're growing in our annual beds. And Melina today was researching grains. Wow, what if you could, be handing out grain seeds for people to grow in their home gardens? That would be really neat. And if you could hand out shrubs, we did hand out a few shrubs and perennials last year. And I think that's great, but you have to decide where is your focus going to be for your seed library. Yeah, so I'm just going to
Okay, yeah.
Danielle. Okay, so I just want to move on here so we have time to finish the presentation. But these are all great questions. So thank you so much for bringing that up, Daniel, and greetings in Malawi. So Shadia asks, how can a seed library work together with a small local seed company? So you always need to be creating new varieties. Any thoughts on how that could unfold in such a way that both are viable and mutually supportive? That is such a great question. Yes, because in permaculture, we always want to figure out how things can work together. And I do think, working with other seed savers, maybe you have them developing varieties for you or growing out certain crops, like they get free seeds and you get them to give you the seeds, and then maybe you sell the seeds and then you also offer some of them in a seed library for free. I know that I have had lots of people say, I feel uncomfortable about getting free seeds. I want to pay for them. And I say, well, I don't have a mechanism to accept money for seeds, but you could make a donation to the seed library. So it is possible that you could, have the thing I'm thinking of right now is if you have a seed company, you want to make sure that those seeds that you are passing out are definitely not crossed. And so you want to know the growers that you're working with in that situation. Whereas with the seed library, it's a little bit more loose. We have a little bit more play because we're not selling the seeds. If somebody gets some seeds that they're a cross between squash and a spaghetti squash or something, and it's a little bit funky, then it's okay. But if you're a seed company, you definitely want to make sure your seeds are pure. So yeah, and then also, yeah, Dev mentioned that if you are a small seed company, or if you are a seed company, you could offer your expired seeds in a seed library as well. And we have gotten one year, the first year I did get some seeds from Baker Creek, but I found that they were not, most of them were not very viable. The ones that I planted did not grow. And I'm not sure if that's because they were so old or if they had been mistreated along the way. Yes, we need both seed libraries and seed businesses. Yeah, my master's is in regenerative entrepreneurship, and I definitely feel like that creating these business opportunities for people are really important. And then also, I really love the idea of the gift economy, where we can just pass out something for free, and then it will come back to us in other ways. That's one of the lovely, lovely things I love about the seed libraries. And I feel like the seed fairy when I go and I put all the seeds out for people to take. It's a really good feeling. And the way that I've done it with my business is that the seed library is like a project of my business. And but I wasn't a seed company, I'm an education company or business. And so I actually got grants here. I think I have it over here. I basically got another grant that covered the cost of me to teach some classes. So I wanted to offer you guys some ideas on funding sources. So like I mentioned, I have gotten mostly grants to cover the cost of the seed library. And most of my time has been donated. So besides teaching the workshops, but most of my time has been donated. And then there've been lots of volunteers that have also donated time. So you can get donations of money, both money and seeds, locally and nationally, or possibly internationally. You can do local fundraisers or online fundraisers. You can do, like I said, the Awesome Foundation. There's no need to be a nonprofit. And then there's so many government grants out there that are funding food security right now, especially in the day and age of COVID. So my costs for my first year were about $1,200, and then because of the startup costs, and then this year it's only been about $650 so far. Okay. Well, okay, so like I said, these projects are pretty easy to fund because it is such a great community project. It's a win-win-win for everybody. It increases the local food security. It increases community well-being. It increases local resiliency. And it really crosses political, cultural, and religious divides. Like I said, everybody needs to eat. And so we can all come together through this project. And then here's the information about the classes that I taught. And these were funded by a separate grant from the Homer Foundation, which is a local organization that distributes money. So looking into what is available locally is a really good idea because it is such a community builder. So I offered these all over Zoom because of COVID, and I think they would be much better in person. And I'm looking for funding for this year to offer more classes. But I found that the education, especially around seed saving, was really important. And oh, and there's a missing one here. I did offer a beginning seed saving class first before the advanced, intermediate and advanced. And I did find that those were pretty well attended. And like I said, there's a lot of knowledge that needs to go around how to save these seeds. That is really important to get out there. Okay, Sarah offers that Donors Choice is an excellent place to seek quick and very transparent funding for teachers out there. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, you guys, if you have other suggestions, please post them in the chat box, because I'm definitely not, funding isn't my expertise at all. In fact, I was really lucky to get, I have a friend that volunteered and stepped up that's a professional grant writer. And then I also had, because of the second, the grant that we got for the workshops, that needed to have a fiscal sponsor because we were not a nonprofit. So basically, there's a local nonprofit called Homer Soil and Water District, and they were able to be our fiscal sponsor to apply for the grant. And so they accepted the funds, and then they passed the funds on to me as a contractor, delivering the deliverables of that grant, if that makes sense. So that allowed me to be just a standalone business. I don't want the cumbersomeness of incorporating into a nonprofit is not something that I'm really interested in, because in the US, there are lots of rules and regulations that go along with it. And I would rather stay small and nimble as a business and not have that cumbersomeness of the nonprofit. Oh, should we check back and see if I'll be offering further workshops this year? I will send you info. Yes, so if you registered, you will be on my mailing list, and I'll send you any info on workshops that I'm doing. Yeah. So great. And let's see, this is just a photo again of the kids counting seed packets. Like I said, there's a lot of organization that needs to go on. I wanted to do a complete inventory of what seeds I still had before I ordered seeds this year. And so that took a little bit of time. So I did try to keep track of time, especially in the first year, and found that I spent about 174 hours of time in organizing the seeds. So basically what I do is I make bags with envelopes, labels that I cut out, print and cut out with my paper cutter, and the seeds. And then I have people take those bags home and package the seeds at their house and then bring them back. And I know Melina does a seed packing party once a week at the senior center, where everybody gets together in the same room and can talk, which is also a good thing, especially in this day and age of not having enough connection with other people, and pack seeds together. So depending on how you want to do it, this was just how I figured out I could do it with COVID in my area. So, okay, let's switch. Okay, Daniel asks, what would I advise someone who'd like to set up a bunch of local seed libraries in Malawi? Yes, the cat is very helpful. She's a little troublemaker. Okay, Daniel, I would suggest that you seek funding for them. And then I would say, you'll have to figure out what is going to work for you in your area. So perhaps it would be you have a main location where all your seeds are located, and then you travel to the different villages, and then you're able to pass out the seeds. You know, you could have a seed event in each village where you bring the seed library to them and pass them out and talk to people about what will work. And yes, there are some permaculture projects in Malawi, and I would definitely suggest that you hook up with them because they will be beneficial for you to work with them. Yeah, I spent a little bit of time in Nkata Bay in Malawi doing some volunteer work there. So I'm a little bit familiar with the area, but it's been a long time. But I think it's a very worthwhile project. And I definitely think education to go along with the seeds and what you're offering would be a really good idea. Okay, so I just wanted to, yeah, if you guys want to check out my website, it's teachgardening.com. And you guys were all there when you registered for the workshop. And you could see the other things that I do. It also has a page about the Homer Seed Library. So you can see more about that. I have a group on Facebook called the Garden Revolution Group that you're welcome to join, where I post all about how to further the garden revolution. And you can email me personally at alaskaseskia@gmail.com. I do consultations. I do teach an online gardening course that goes year round if you're interested in boosting up your gardening skills. It's all permaculture based, and we do go over seed saving in that course along with a lot of other stuff. So, all right. Yeah. Thank you guys for coming today. Let's see if you guys have any more questions. I'm just going to take a look in the chat. And you can also raise your hand if you want to say something. Look on Facebook for any potential seed saving groups in your area to get an idea of similar projects and who would have local advice. That's a great suggestion, Lou. I really like that. And I really recommend that to everybody. Get on your local gardening groups, get on your local seed saving groups and network with other people, because there might already be something in your area and you might find some collaborators. You don't have to do it all by yourself. And I'm working on really trying to broaden my reach and get more volunteers involved in what I'm doing so that it's not just my project. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much for coming. Like I said, if you have any specific questions, you can email me or join the Garden Revolution group and join in that conversation there. I'm more than happy to help you guys do this. And I hope it has been inspiring for you today. I wish you all the luck. I really encourage you guys to just get started in whatever way that you can. Even if it's a small little seed library, seed swap with your friends, and then build it into something bigger. Cool. All right, you guys, I'm going to stop share. Go back to this. All right, and it's 12:03, so we're right on schedule, you guys. Like I said, really appreciate you all coming today, and hopefully we'll see you later. All right, bye.